Hello, I'm Rebecca Downs. Welcome to the 6th episode in the second series of my podcast, Downs Your Way, in association with Blues in Britain magazine, where I also have my monthly column, Beck's Blues. Regular listeners will know this by now, but if you want to find out more about me or the magazine, then please follow the links in the show notes below. And if you want to, rate, review and subscribe. And share it too. Thank you. As you know, in this new series, I'm asking you to come with me on a journey through the landscape of the current music scene, looking at what's going on, the impact it's had on musicians and how they deal with it. In this episode, I am talking to Big Boy Bloater, guitarist, singer, songwriter, presenter and all-round entertainer. And we have with us the amazing, the incredible, the lovely, he interviewed me years ago and was totally lovely, Big Boy Bloater. Do I call you Big Boy Bloater still?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, I think bloater's fine, or if you really want Big Boy, but yeah, you know, I'll answer to pretty much
As
anything.
I said,
really.
I do think Big Boy sounds like a porn name, but I don't know. It's up to you.
Everybody's got to do what they got to do these days. You know, I won't say any more.
You want OnlyFans as well as Big Boy.
No, I don't think I'd get very far with that.
Well, I don't know. You know, in for a penny, in for a pound, and all that. You know,
who knows? It might come to that. Yeah.
That's what I always say, you know, is it going to go, when it's really going wrong, there's always OnlyFans, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. So thank you so much for being on. This has been such an interesting sort of little journey, speaking to everyone and sort of getting their take on this bizarre industry that we seem to operate in or try to operate in. And so, yeah, anything new with you? What have you been up to recently? Anything going on?
What have I been up to? Now, there's a loaded question. Well, basically, I've spent the last 2.5 years moving to France and keeping my head down, building a studio out in the barn, and that's about it, really. Yeah, just trying to carry on surviving, really. Yeah.
That's quite a lot, though, to be honest with you. You're like, I just casually moved to France. Was there a reason for that? Was there reasons behind it?
It'd been something we've been planning a long time, and we finally decided to do it. There was quite a few. 2020, that was quite a weird year, wasn't it? I mean, it was strange. We had the pandemic. Both my parents died early on in the year. Nothing to do with the pandemic. It was just circumstances. So kind of everything changed, and the pandemic happened. All the gigs stopped, and I just thought, you know what? It's time to get out. Just before Brexit happened. So, moved to France and loving it ever since. I've got to say, it's been a good move.
Yeah, there's a few people that I know in France. There's I've got a mate who's the drummer in Diamond Head, Carl, and he moved to France and he's got his studio set up there and, you know, all the rest of it. So kind of like, if we launch straight into gigging in Europe, you're kind of sorted then, aren't you, really?
Not really, no. I mean,
No.
Like I say, I've spent the last 2 years sort of keeping my head down, really. I mean, I arrived right in the middle of the lockdown, so 6 months of just basically kind of being under house arrest almost. And I got to quite like that, to be honest. I quite enjoyed it. Myself and Mrs. Bloater and the dogs just at home tootling around for 6 months. I liked it, I really enjoyed it. And I got to say, you know, where we live is a beautiful house and everything out in the country, so it's nice and quiet. We didn't have to see anyone. We didn't have to do anything. And yeah, I've kind of got into the habit of doing that now. So gigs I haven't got a French agent yet or anything. And it's, there's lots of shows out here in France. There's lots of stuff going on. But I just haven't really got into the swing of it, to be honest. And it's something I've got to do. I've got to get off my arse and do it. But I'm just enjoying life. Kicking back at the moment. Yeah.
I totally,
like you say.
I get that. And I think kind of I had a similar-ish experiences over lockdown because my mum sort of came on with severe dementia and then my dad was in hospital. They're still with us, but they're, you know, it's not the best of times. So in lockdown, it was kind of a case of everyone was sort of, oh, should we do this online stuff? And I was like, I just want to get through today, to be honest with you. I mean, and it was really nice just to sort of sometimes just, just do yourself, wasn't it? Just like, I was working on music and that, but it just was, it was a time to just take some time out, I think. So I do get that.
Yeah.
Have you been
whether you wanted to or not, was it?
Well, yeah.
I tell you, the other thing about moving to France is my whole idea was, and like I said, we've been planning it for years, really. My whole idea was to build this studio, which I'm sitting in now, so I've managed to do that. But I was going to do lots of live streams and do, kind of put on different shows and things like that. Of course, then the pandemic hit and everybody was doing live streams, on their phone. It was upside down around. It sounded shit. The quality was terrible. But it was just like quantity. I think everybody got fed up with that. And I just thought, I'm not going to do that now because everyone's had enough of it. So, that was kind of going to be my alternative to doing so many gigs. But, c'est la vie, as they say here.
I think there's still room for that now. And I know what you mean. Like, I did a few and we did one band one, but I was just like, there's just so many of them. And I can't really do them on a full-on basis like some of these people can. So I was just like, yeah. But I think there's probably room for that now, to be honest with you.
Maybe people are coming back to it. I don't know. I've done a few, and it's been all right. It's been quite nice. It's been good to use the studio and everything set up and great. And that's been good. But it's just getting in the swing of it, really. And there's always the garden to sit in and beers to drink. So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Your studio, for people who are listening, looks absolutely amazing, by the way. I'm well jealous. So
it took me about 2 years a year and a half to build, I think, maybe. But it's actually it's the old cattle shed that was part of the farmhouse, and I've kind of just divided it up into some rooms. And the wood that you could see if you're not listening, if you're watching, the wood behind me is actually recycled from all the cattle stalls that separated the cattle in it. So I cut it all up into strips, and so there's a bit of recycling. So yeah.
Looks very, very nice. Very, very nice. So, I mean, you're not really, you've sort of taken a bit of time out from gigging. I mean, was that and I know you're sort of resettling in a new country, but there is probably other things behind that. Maybe I'm thinking, how was it when you left the UK? What was the vibe of, gigging? Was it something that you found that was an easy thing to do, that was easy to get gigs, that was easy to get decent paid gigs? Yeah, we're both laughing.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I'd very much planned it, the whole thing, and I was going to take some time off before the pandemic hit. And I was actually doing this kind of sort of, not a farewell tour, but it kind of like, let's wrap this up for the moment kind of tour. And we got 2-3 gigs into that, I think, and it was lockdown. So it was like it didn't get to finish the tour. That was it. It was just the end of it. But yeah, I'd kind of thought the market was so kind of saturated at the time, and it's like really hard to get people interested to go to gigs. And you just, I absolutely love gigging. I absolutely loved it. I mean, it's being on stage is a really sort of comfortable experience for me. I really enjoy it. It's probably one of the easiest things for me. Is all the showbiz bullshit around it is a nightmare, of course. Doing contracts and tax returns and all that. That's the part of show business. The business side is rubbish, but the actual show is the bit that I absolutely loved. But I think it was getting hard work, and maybe it was time for a change or something. I don't know. So yeah, sort of set out this tour to say, right, we're going to, me and the band, we're going to do a sort of wrap it up type of thing for the moment. I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to do the live streams when I got here to France. But it's all changed really. But it's it's a tough old business, show business. I mean, to coin a phrase, it's a shit business. And there's so many lows and quite a few highs. It's tough. And it does eat away at you. And sometimes I think you've got to just have a little stand back and go, right, what am I going to do? What am I doing here? Do I still want to do this? Yeah, I still want to do it, but maybe I need to do something different. Yeah.
Because I think, and I've discussed with a lot of people, I think there's a lot of stress. It's actually incorrect that people think that, there's a lot of mental health issues because people are creative. That's actually been dispelled. I mean, there's whole loads of papers done on that. It's almost like, creative people are, we're in an industry, but this industry places so many demands on us, and more demands than I think you and I had when we were first starting out. I mean, there wasn't social media when I was starting out. There wasn't any internet. That's true. So all these different things are coming in from different angles. I mean, did that sort of impact you at all? Kind of like the social media rubbish, really, that has to go on.
I think it did, yeah, but you don't really always realise that it's going on, do you? You get swept up in all of it, but you don't realise how much brain power it's using up, and I think you sort of look at everybody else's kind of social media feeds and think, they're doing great, I'm doing shit. What's going on? But I think it's the same for everyone. I think everyone looks at everything else and go, always thinks there's someone doing better than they are, and it's just we're all in the same pot, probably, really, and just fighting for the same thing. I do think that the music business it's not like, well, I guess it is a bit like being a plumber, isn't it? It's you've got your plumbers out there and they're great and they work hard, but then you've got your DIYers as well, and it's kind of like. Yeah, which I don't know where I'm going with this. So I'm going to think myself in a hole. No, I think you're going down a very interesting road. Actually, just depends whether you want to get down there or not. I think, I mean, the prime example of a lot of gigs disappeared because people would turn up and say, "Well, I'll do it for free. It's a hobby for me, and I'll do it for free. It's great. I don't mind." And which is great in some respects because it's nice to get out and do a gig, but. Then people aren't always getting the quality, and obviously the people who are doing it for a living aren't getting the work. And what do you do? What do you can't say no, you can't play to people. But it's a strange business like that. There's no real training. Anyone can do anything they like, and which is great in one respect, but in other respects you don't always have that quality there. And don't get me started on tribute bands. That's another argument altogether. I could rant on all night about that, but let's move on. Well,
I think you're making a really valid point there. And I think that, I mean, you're right. The music industry is great on a sort of local level because you can be sort of having picked up a guitar a month ago and then go and do a gig if you like. But It's not just on like a really local sort of, even on that sort of, just turn up at your local pub. I think there's a lot of bands starting out in the bluesy rock rootsy genre. And I feel for them because I know, because I was in that position, that you'll sort of take anything because you think, I've got to gig. Oh, it's for 10 pence and an apple. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll drive halfway across the country for that.
Yeah.
And of course, when you get a bit more into it and you've put in more money yourself and you've built up a little bit of a reputation, blah, 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 you can't accept that anymore because you've got bills.
Yeah.
And so even, people who are at quite a high standard, unfortunately, because people are so desperate to gig, I think, they do take hardly any money for it sometimes. I think I only did a few like that, and then I called it a day and thought, I can't carry on like this. So I think you make a really valid point about that. I think it's not just at one level, it's actually at lots of levels.
Yeah, I think, it goes all the way through it, I think, doesn't it? It goes all the way through the business, the industry. And not just for musicians, for tech people and record labels, studios, everything. I mean, it's, And, it's like I say, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? These days, it's anyone can get a microphone and an interface for their computer. And they've suddenly got a amazing multi-track recording studio in their bedroom. They can do whatever they want, and it's just great. But it's it's not the be all and end all. Sometimes it's nice to have a bit of that experience.
That experience stuff. Yeah, I mean, I have mentioned this in other interviews, so people will get bored of me saying this, but I do teach quite a lot. And there's a student that I was teaching, and she stood up in the class and said, "Why are we having to learn this, Becky?" And I was like, I don't know what you mean by that, because we were doing vocal something. And she said, "Well, I don't understand why I've got to learn to sing live." And you just like, and of course they're sort of she was into dance and EDM, and I like a lot of EDM, don't get me wrong. But I just thought, because this is a performance course, because he likes, and it was bizarre because I think there is a whole new level sort of coming up that sort of is not where we started. It's from a completely different level. Yeah.
Well, I think as well, the whole industry has been turned on its head these days, social media and TV. I mean, it used to be, if you wanted to be a musician, you picked out whatever instrument you were going to guitar or sing or whatever, and then you'd spend a few years in pubs kind of like building your trade, and then you move up to some bigger clubs and you kind of built up. Now it's kind of like, get on TV and play in front of 10 million people for your first gig, but you haven't kind of built up those almost social skills, kind of like you haven't built up that experience, and people's, I guess, music is such a disposable thing these days. It's get the star in, get what you can out of them, throw them away, get the next one on. So this kind of TV approach thing works great because the turnover is just so fast. But yeah, it didn't used to be like that. It used to take time, and you kind of learnt your craft. And yeah, the old days, eh? The old days. Oh.
I mean, as I say, there's some kids I teach that are still very much doing that, but they kind of straddle in both quarters, where they're doing the social media thing and they're doing like the live gigs as well. But yeah, I just remember, being a kid and just wanting to gig and not really thinking about fame. And you've kind of mentioned like the reality show thing there, and I've got a lot of young singers that sort of go, I really want to get on the X Factor, I really want to get on Got Talent or some other load of rubbish. And I don't know whether it's the fame they're after or the exposure or a bit of both. Because I always say to them, I think you're on a road to nowhere with that, really.
Yeah.
But
it always makes me laugh. I've seen a couple of those, X Factor type things and all that. And they always have the people being interviewed at the beginning, and they say, "Oh, my whole life, all I've ever wanted to do is be a singer." And but they've never done a gig. They've never done anything. Their first experience of it is going on this talent show. And it's like, how could you really have wanted that much if you haven't done anything? You just think you're going to kind of like fast track yourself. And then of course they lose and get heartbroken, and it's great, It's brilliant.
It's an entertainment show, isn't it? It's like the Romans throwing people to the lions, really.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with talent. It's just, can we entertain people on a Saturday night? And unfortunately, I think a lot of people get hurt along the way. I think it's quite destructive myself. I think it's against competitions.
It's more spectacle than talent show, and it's closer to the Victorian freak shows, I think, than the Romans. I think it's kind of look at it's car crash TV, and it's look how terrible this is, but you can't stop watching it, and it's
and laughing at people, which I always find just you just think, what have we become? And so it's definitely, I try to steer people away from that, because I think it's got nothing to do with music at all. And you might get your 5 minutes of fame, but you could get your 5 minutes of fame, as I've said to my kids, sticking your head in the microwave, and if you wanted. A bloke from Wolverhampton cemented his head in the microwave, and he had 5 minutes of fame, so he might as well do that.
Yeah. I kind of think there should almost be like two separate charts, one for kind of manufactured pop, your kind of pop idol sort of stuff, and then like your indie kind of thing. And it's, I don't know, to put the two together to compete is like apples and pears. It's just completely different things, and it's like, how can you compete? The TV stuff and all the pop stuff is all based on brand and looks most of the time. There's hardly any talent a lot of the time. Sometimes there is, but it's got not a lot to do with the music, and just more to do with the marketing, I think. And that should be one thing. And then people who want to make, serious, maybe not even great music, but serious music should be judged in a completely different, but almost harrowing way.
No, I know what you mean. It's a bit like, people ask, where's the next David Bowie coming from? And you think, well, I don't know really, because, where's the next Queen coming from? Well, I don't know, because Bohemian Rhapsody wouldn't get anywhere these days. It wouldn't be playlisted. It wouldn't get, it's kind of like, well, I don't know, because they're probably out there and existing right now, but they're one of the 50,000 a week that are being uploaded to Spotify and they haven't got any money or any backing. Yeah. So they're probably sitting out there right now, but they just can't get into that mainstream industry anymore because nobody really wants to push that kind of individual.
Yeah. I think as well as, a lot of the stuff I listen to, I like a lot of 70s stuff and, listen to it. And I think it was quite a golden age of music for me, to be honest, I think. But then you look and you see some of the performances and you see, it looks like a bunch of old guys from down a building site or something. You see something, like a band like Muddle, and they're not the greatest look. I mean, they've tried to dress it up as good as they can, obviously with the glam thing and all that. But, it's just like, and you think, it's true. Video killed the radio star. Definitely, it's and that's where look where we are now.
Yeah. Have you ever, because you've got a very distinctive look actually, and with the hat and you've always been quite out there with what you look like. Is that like did you sort of think about that, or was it this is just who I am? This, or was there like a thought process behind it?
I guess there's been a thought process about it. Again, I work with a lot of musicians, and some of them will turn up literally in the clothes that they were on a building site on, that morning, and then some guys, will turn up and they'll get dressed up, and they'll, they think it's a kind of it's an event, and they want to get, and I kind of think that way, it's kind of like an event. Quite often people have paid money to come and see you, and you should try and dress up a little bit, look a bit smart. I mean, I probably don't dress as strangely as I might like to, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. There's not that much spandex, I don't think, but I could go further, but I just think you try and put on a bit of a show, don't you? And try and present your best side when people have made the effort to come out and see you, because it's harder and harder to get people to come out and see you. When they do, try and be respectful about it. I think that's what I think anyway. If you want to turn up in your shorts and a ripped t-shirt, that's up to you. Yeah,
it is, isn't it? I think it's did that sort of because I know it's sometimes slightly different from man, but it's becoming less and less really with social media. Did you ever sort of get any sort of backlash or anything like that on social media, or the for the what you were wearing or what you? I think men sometimes sort of can get away with a bit more than what we can sometimes. God bless you.
I think it's the other way around. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't say I've ever had any backlash or anything really. I mean, I don't think I've done anything too outlandish. I mean, you just generally put on a suit and put on a hat, but I've seen people do stranger things for sure. But no, I think generally I've so far, touch wood, I haven't been too scathed by the social media, I guess. But I can see how a lot of people would be. And I think it's worse for women, because I think there's still a lot of that old-fashioned attitude around of women being objectified and that sort of thing. And it's so I would have thought it'd be harder. Maybe it's just the other side of the fence, and I don't know so much about it. I don't know. Yeah, I have to try being a woman for a while and see how it goes.
Yeah, I'd love to go on stage dressed up as a man, as a drag man. That'd be great. I think drag king. That's the words for it. I'd love to do that. Drag king. I'd love that. I mean, we've just lost the amazing Sinead O'Connor, and whatever anyone I think felt about her music or kind of some of her outpourings, as it were. I think she, she tried to remove that objectification by like shaving the head and all that sort of thing. So it has been tried, although, you know, even today, not very successfully going. So it's just strange.
I guess it's a long process though, isn't it? It's not going to change overnight. It's going to take a while, you know? And until then, we got to live with it.
No, absolutely. So what are the things that have sort of driven you along your career? You know, what's kept you going? Is it family time? Is it dogs? I've got a little rescue dog called Ralph, and I swear to God, I don't know why sorry everyone, but I don't know why this computer keeps bringing it's on Do Not Disturb. It should be on Do Not Disturb. So it's not Big Boy, it's me. But my little boy Ralph, I have to say, even though people might think it's quite strange, I think he keeps me going. I have to, you know, I haven't got any kids. He's my little baby. I mean, what sort of keeps you going and keeps you, you know, on track in this crazy world of music?
I think I've come off the tracks a couple of times, but definitely dogs. I've got a couple of little dogs, a couple of very small chihuahuas, and people often say, "Oh, small dogs, I don't like small dogs," but they're great. They're fantastic. They are proper little dogs, but the good thing is when they jump on you, they don't completely squash you, and it's great. They make me laugh every day. You know, you can't help but smile when you see them coming towards you, wagging their tail. It's brilliant. So I think dogs are great. Yeah, I mean, same for me. No kids, so dogs are my children's substitute, I guess. That definitely keeps me going. Definitely, yeah.
Well, what are their names? Because I want to steal them.
We got Tuco, who's a boy, and Esme, who's a girl. And, yeah.
They do keep me going, though, don't they? I've been doing some research into dogs and musicians and mental health, and dogs and owners and mental health, really. And it's been quite amazing sort of watching the results come back, you know, these white papers on how many people, especially musicians, because a lot of this was targeting musicians, rely on their animals sort of for a lot of their mental health survival. Because I think, as we said, like, this is a very strange industry.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those industries that you need a lot of support, and if you haven't got it, it's you know, it can be devastating.
I think the music industry is full of disappointments and knockbacks, and you know, just lots of lows. And the great foil to that is pets, animals, dogs. I mean, they don't expect anything of you. They're just there. They just love you. They just want to be around you. And I guess it's the polar opposite to music, really, isn't it? It's like, they love you, and music fans don't. Yeah.
So you're going to produce any more music in this amazing studio that I can see in the background, or what's going on?
Yeah, the plan was always to do more. I'm trying to get up to do and get the enthusiasm up to do another album. But again, how much time have we got? The music industry.
You've got as much as you want. You go on.
I mean, it's all changed, hasn't it? It's not, you know, with Spotify now these days, it's not really about albums. It's about singles and tracks and you know, how much mileage is left for bands like us to sell CDs. I mean, I think the blues scene is still keen on buying CDs and having physical copies, vinyls and that sort of thing. But how long is that going to last now? I mean, you've got Spotify, you can just, the day an album's released, it can be bam, there in your library for free. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to go out to see the band. You don't have to do anything. You can just listen to it and go, yeah, that's shit. I won't listen to that again. And it's gone. That's it. I think if you've got a CD and you've gone out to the gig and you've bought the CD and you've got it signed and you take it home and you put it on, you listen to it and you go, oh, that's shit. But you're invested in it to some point, and you'll listen to it again, and then you'll listen to it again, and you'll start going, oh, actually, I quite like those tracks. So I think that's where it's changed so much. People are just so quick to dismiss stuff now because they can go on to the next thing. They can just fast forward, next thing. So to do another album at the moment, I don't know. I don't really know which way to go with it. Do I do an album? Do I just release tracks? Do I just fart in a jar and see who wants to buy it off eBay? I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Fart in a jar.
What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. The farting in a jar sounds pretty good to me. No, I know exactly what you mean. I think, and again, like discussing this with so many people now, and discussing this with a manager of quite a famous soul artist just this week, we're saying the same things, like they spend, so much on PR, they spend so much on radio plugin, so much on TV plugin because they're at that level. And back in the day, they'd have been getting that back through actually physical album sales, but now they're not. And this is where it's all kind of falling down a little bit, even for an artist that, is big enough to employ a TV plugger, because as we know, TV pluggers, and these PRs and pluggers, I mean, they've all got their place, and I'm not knocking them, but a lot of them are thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. I don't think a lot of people understand that you could easily, if you were going to launch an artist from scratch, spend 100 to 150 grand and not blink. And a lot of that isn't on the production of the album. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's not even with the music, right? So, yeah. But that's okay because you can record that in your bedroom for free for nothing. So, hey.
It's kind of become about, okay, as you say, not really about the process of the creation of it, which, we all used to go into the studio and then I still do, and think about, who's going to produce it and what do I really want it to sound like. But for a lot of people, it's like the physical product is like secondary to the amount of money they're going to PR behind it, or throw onto videos or radio pluggers or pay to play gigs or whatever it is they're going to do. So it has become a completely different thing, hasn't it? So it's hard to know what to do.
It's kind of more business and less show all the time. The balance in show business is all business these days, and it's a shame. That's the really boring part of it for me, to be honest. So it's like I say, I always just enjoyed playing, getting on stage or being in the studio. I love being in the studio as well and recording stuff. It's about the playing. I feel really comfortable doing that, and it's I know a lot of people who go on stage and they'll say, "Oh, I throw up before I go on stage because I'm so nervous about it." But it's all the stuff around it for me. Stage is the easy part.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's like you've got all the things, especially even just gig wise or festival wise. And festivals I always find very fraught because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, right.
But those moments on stage, that's like if you were just going to just drop me into that stage setting, I'd do that for free any day of the week. You know what I mean? It's the rest of it around. It's the absolute nightmare. So, because you're in France now, how does that, if you were going to, gig around and all that, are you still affected by Brexit? Are you?
It's quite complicated. I mean, I'm still a UK citizen, so I can come between France and the UK. That's kind of not too much problem. There's still tax stuff to sort out. Again, and that's a whole night's conversation we can have just about tax in the music industry. That's just a pain in the ass. But you got to pay your taxes, kids. Don't forget. But yeah, for the rest of Europe, it's pretty much the same for me, really. I mean, it's if I leave France, then I'm under the same rules as everybody else in the UK. Mm. So it's just really complicated. Brexit. What a great idea that was.
That was so great. Oh my God. Thanks, guys.
It's paying off now, eh? Yeah, it's really just ridiculous.
And I think music has been, and the kind of, I hate calling it grassroots because it's not, but kind of, I remember hearing The Who, and I'm not sort of having a go at them going, well, we weren't in Europe before and we were okay. It's like, yeah, but you're The Who.
Yeah, that one went.
You're playing stadiums.
Yeah, I don't even like the Who that much, and then they came out with that, and I was like, "Oh, no."
I mean, that was
no
just so cutting. It's like, okay, so you're okay then. Okay, good for you guys.
Yeah, stupid things that people have said in our time. That's right up there, I think, definitely.
It is, isn't it? I mean, I sort of thought wrongly when you said you were in France that it's kind of like, it would, but if you're still as unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm still a UK citizen, so I'm just a French resident. So it's I've got more. I'm able to do more in France, but I'm still basically just a UK resident, a UK citizen. So I still got Brexit. I mean, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of my contemporaries from the blues scene all saying that they're traveling off to Holland or Belgium or Germany to do gigs. So obviously, people are still managing to do it. I'm not quite sure whether they're filling out all the paperwork or there's some sort of loophole, or I don't know. I don't know. It's their business, frankly, and good for them for doing the gig. I think great. I'm glad it didn't just completely stop, but it seems to be getting harder. I think as they're working out Brexit, it's getting harder and harder and harder. I just got another tax form from the UK, and I pay all my earnings in France. I pay all my tax on my earnings in France. So if I do a gig in the UK, I come back, the money goes into my bank, and I pay my tax on that in France. Which, okay, the taxes are really high here as well, but that's the way it is. It's, I chose it. That's fair enough. But now been told gigs I'm doing in the future now, I have to pay 20% tax in the UK as well. Wow. And then claim it back like 18 months later or something. It's just so complicated. It's like, oh God, I don't know if I'd be bothered.
I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? I mean, that is a lot.
Yeah. When the agent takes 15% and then the tax is taking 20%, and then the tax here is ridiculous. It's almost kind of, by the time you've paid social charges, it's almost like 50%. So, and then you pay the band and you think, oh, this is going to cost me a couple of £100 to do the gig. It's like, oh man. But it's, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what, a lot of people have been talking about, sort of the viability of gigs. And it's like, even before sort of lockdown and COVID, there was still, I could work it out from how much I know certain gigs pay, that a lot of bands, if they've got a lot of people on the stage, were basically paying to play, or at least paying the musicians to play. If they're like us and kind of, it's not one for all and all for one, you're actually paying the musicians. I thought, well, there's no way that fee's covering that. And I know thing, So it's kind of like the viability of gigs is getting sort of smaller and more selective. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, and we're so grateful to people who come out to gigs and buy the music and all that sort of thing. But this is meant to be about sort of no smoke and mirrors. So it's no smoke and mirrors, just being honest, I'm afraid, folks.
I think, it's interesting what you said about, the people who come out to gigs and all that. And there are some, some really dedicated people that do come out to gigs and they support everything, and they'll buy T-shirts and CDs and everything. And they always come to the gigs whenever they can. And it's great to see them, but it's kind of like a fairly small amount, and they're always there. And you get to know them so well, they become friends. And then you start thinking, oh, I'm just taking advantage of my friends now. It's kind of like, I don't want to do that. It's a nightmare. It's a quagmire of mental obstacles, this business really is. I think it's hard work. And it's great to see those people who come out and support music all the time. But I think, oh, I hope you're not just doing this because you feel, we're friends now and you feel like you have to do it, kind of thing. It's
I feel like that.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's just like, I just want to sit at the back of the studio and play with myself.
See, we're getting back to OnlyFans now.
Musically, of course, yes.
Yeah, whatever. I know what you mean. Whatever. So I know it's not all doom and gloom. So I teach a lot of young kids. I call them kids, but they're like 20s and whatever, children, small embryos. So if you were, and a lot of them are in bands, So what is there any advice you'd give to like A young you starting out.
A young me. Oh, I don't know. If I, had a time machine and was able to go back and sort of speak to myself, I don't know what I'd say. I think I could make things worse, possibly. I don't know. Yeah, but I often get asked the question, "Oh, have you got any advice for people getting started in the business and that kind of thing?" And I hear a lot of people giving you advice, and I always used to say, people will tell you, make sure you got something to fall back on. Make sure you got, a trade or something that you can fall back on, because it's, music business is really hard. And I always thought, yeah, the music business is really hard. And honestly, if you've got something to fall back on, you're going to take that exit. I never had that. It was music or nothing for me. I stopped listening at school at the age of like 13 or something and just gave up. I was never very good at school. I didn't get it. It didn't work for me. So I did my first paid gig at about 14 or something, I think. And it was like, that was it. I'm going to be a musician. And I'm stuck with it. That's the only thing I can do. And having a fallback, I think, yeah, you're always going to take it. So my advice now would be, just don't even bother with the music. Just go for the fallback. But that's just being really cynical now. It's a shit business.
I think really, what I tell Colin and my young singers is that do it if it's what you have to do. Like, I have to do this. I can't leave it alone. Like, I couldn't just walk away. So if you're the same, then that's good. That's the business for you. If you're just doing it to be famous, then you might as well just leave now. Because,
yeah.
I think, I can't remember the odds exactly, but the odds of being an Adele, being plucked from obscurity. And remember, she went to the Brit School and loads of things. I'm not saying she's not talented, but I'm just saying there was a lot behind that girl. The odds of that happening are something like winning the lottery whilst at the same time being struck by lightning twice.
That's quite a good analogy, though, isn't it? That's probably a similar feeling, I should imagine. Yeah.
So it's like, if you want to be in it because you love music, great. If not, then I just wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
Because it's just, there's too much other stuff now, isn't there, going on behind it?
And I couldn't. Would I advise someone to get into the music business these days? I don't know. I mean, it can be a lot of fun. I mean, we've spoken a lot about the business today and the negative sides and all that, but there are lots of positives as well. I mean, through music, I've been able to travel all around the world and meet hundreds, if not thousands, of people. Many have become friends, who I wouldn't have met before, and I've got to do loads of things and see loads of things, and that's been amazing. And I wouldn't have got that if I'd been an electrician in Hampshire somewhere or something like. It's that would have been a very different life. But yeah, is it a good thing to? I don't know. Suck it and see, I guess.
Well, I think you've always said it there. It's about, if you want that experience, if you're truly in love with music, go for it. If you're in it because you think you might get famous or a quick, easy load of money, you're definitely in the wrong business.
Yeah. I think music courses as well should have like a module. It should be a few weeks long where you just, you do all the typical things on a music course. You learn your instrument, you learn all about the business, all that sort of thing. But there should be a couple of weeks long. They should take you to like somewhere deepest, darkest Wales. And for a week, you should just stand on a fire escape in the rain at back, lifting speakers up and down stairs, doing stuff like that. That's what we spend most of the time doing. Being on the hard shoulder of the M4 in a broken down van for 8 hours.
Yeah.
These are all the things that no one tells you about. It's just like, oh yeah, it's all great. It's all hookers and cocaine. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's not all hookers. It's
never been that really, unless you kiss. No. I think.
Yeah, I think even they make it up a bit as well. I think that. Yeah.
I think those days are long gone. I think it's a hard-working sort of life, and if you want it, you've got to be hard-working, and it's no easy existence, is it? Well, thank you very much, Big Boy Bloater. I can, your beautifully lit studio is ready for your OnlyFans account.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that, eh? It's because I don't think
it's not going to come to that. I know it isn't. It
won't be as successful as the music career, and that's saying something. So let's leave that there.
I'm only joking. You're amazing, and thanks so much for joining me here today. So I'll say goodbye to you now, and I'll and again, thank you so much. See you soon.
Well, thank you for chatting with me and inviting me, and see you soon. Au revoir, as we say.
Au revoir. Bye.
Tangled up in you, and this is something I have to do, and I got you now.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode of Series 2 of Downs Your Way in association with Blues in Britain magazine. Thank you so much to Big Boy, or Bloater, as he did ask me to call him. That was a really great chat. As usual, if you have any comments, questions or feedback, please email or message me. Contact details are in the show notes. In the next episode, I shall be talking to none other than my brother from another mother, Alan Nimmo of the fabulous King, in an interview that really does lay bare the challenges of original blues rock music in 2023. See you then.